we're going to try Andrew again. Andrew Cublin, let's see if his mic is working or if we
Can you
can
hear
hear
me
him.
now?
Yes, we got you.
All right.
Right on. So, how's ENJUKU different from your traditional manufacturer? Your
Uh,
sponsorships are different.
yeah, I mean, on the manufacturer's end, uh, honestly, I would assume the margins are going to be larger, obviously, because they build the product or manufacture the product. And the end sale ultimately is going to kind of the buck ends with them. Whether you purchase a set of Kenda tires from a distributor, direct, whoever, they get the sale. So it's a little different for us because we're, one of 100 different dealers for brands like HKS or BC Racing or Tane Suspension, things like that. So that's probably where it's a bit different for us.
What do you look for then when you're selecting teams to represent ENJUKU?
I mean, if obviously they are using a platform that we, ourselves use or is in sort of our wheelhouse, we're known for in the drifting community and Nissan and Infinity products, so that makes it easy. Um, so that's a big thing. Obviously, if they're generating some good content, if the program looks good, and then we work with a fair amount of kind of smaller regional drift series, Drift Indy, US Drift, a handful of other ones. So we'll kind of touch base with the people running that series and say, hey, we got a proposal from this guy. How is he as a person? How is the program? Things like that, just to see if it may be a good fit.
What does a sponsorship look like? I'm assuming because it's going to be high volume because your margins are lower, so you're probably looking more for quantities as opposed to, or at least quantity sold as opposed to B2B, things like that. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people kind of on the call have said, the sponsorship, it's kind of a vague term and it'll vary a bit depending on the situation. For us, I feel like we deal with a lot of grassroots and lower level guys. So most of the time, they're needing help on the product or the parts, spare parts, spare suspension arms and axles and things like that. So usually we'll start out kind of at a lower level. Somebody will reach out to us that seems to have a compelling proposal, and we'll have discounted parts for them, and then grow it from there. And then they may progress in the sport and end up in a bigger pro am series or pro spec, and then we'll kind of reevaluate it from season to season and kind of go from there.
So it starts small and it grows. And are you looking for more drivers now in drifting?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking. It's just like everybody else has said, you have limited budget. For us, even the product can be difficult sometimes given, the margin. But yeah, I mean, we always will try to help out the grassroots guys because that's kind of where we've come from. I think we're probably one of the longest running privateer shops that has been in Formula Drift since almost its inception. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, to like stroke a $10,000 check to a guy running a pro-am series in New Mexico that has, you know, 300 drivers or 300 spectators may not be the case.
How many wives fab kits do you got to sell to pay for that sponsorship?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing is, sometimes people think the higher value item has higher margin. It's generally not the case. And if we provide one WiseFab kit to one team, we've got to sell 10 or 15 on the back end just to break even.
Hmm.
Um, so that's why a lot of times it'll be, we'll give a discounted rate to try to help out as much as we can. And then if the program grows, we'll kind of go from there.
What have been some good programs that you've been involved with where the drivers really have done a great job? And do you have long-term sponsorships right now? And if so, what kept them long-term?
Yeah, I mean, in FD, we've worked with a few drivers for quite a while, and we've grown a few. Like Alec Honadale, he kind of came in years and years ago, and we built a car for him. And it was kind of a crazy setup, and we've been working together kind of on and off for, I don't know, 10 years. There's a local guy, Ryan Acevedo, who's kind of grown his program and grown over the years, and now he's in a pro-am series and sort of getting more support on our end as he's polishing the program and developing more media and content. So yeah, there's definitely a handful of guys that have done well to sort of come up through the grassroots, and they know that, you know, there's deliverables that we need to make it make sense, you know, some media, videos, pictures, you know, focusing not only on their car, but the products that we sell, you know, the wheels on the car, the seats, the wise fab, you know, all those kind of parts.
Let's talk about that for a second. The type of media, but how much media, what kind of media, you know, obviously product media, and as it relates, you know, something that maybe you could use on the website to help sell a product, or just social media. What does the media look like? And if I'm a driver and I want to approach you for sponsorship and I have a really good media team, what kind of media should I be creating to get your attention?
Yeah, I mean, for us as a retailer, anything that can help sell the product is great. And I mean, the same would apply to a manufacturer, but um, you know, a picture of the car is great. And like someone said earlier, you know, a sticker on the car doesn't get you a whole lot. But if you had good photography or good videography of the install of, say, a suspension component or exhaust component or a
Mhm.
seat, we can use that on our social media. We can use it on the website as install photos. So anything like that is great. But you know, thinking a picture of the car with a 4-inch sticker on it, it does the job is not quite the case, you know.
That's true. Do you work with other brands of products that you sell in your store? Do
Yeah,
you
I
do
mean,
any
so
cross
that
sponsorships?
yeah, we do. I mean, there's some brands that we work pretty closely with, and then there's also some brands where we may be like a considered a pro dealer or a master distributor, and those will usually have a little bit more leeway to say have a marketing budget specifically for that brand or have a little bit more margin to sort of discount the product more or help out more on that end. So as a retailer, that's something I guess if someone's approaching us, they could consider like if we are the master distributor of X brand, there may be more incentive for us to try to work with them and push that and market it more.
You had told me before that you want your brand ambassadors, your teams, your drivers to be good people. We've actually heard that a couple times today on this call.
Mhm.
You go deep on that and explain what you mean by that, because you weren't the only one to have said it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to, you know, you're working with these people. They're an extension of your brand. They're not necessarily an employee, but you could say like a contractor. And no one wants to work with someone that they don't like, you know, and also to someone else's point earlier, you know, you don't want to have that meeting on Monday where the owner or the CFO goes, "Hey, so and so was at the track cursing somebody out or saying some inappropriate stuff." So yeah, I mean, it's you know, you want to work with good people. So we definitely do sort of our due diligence. If it's not someone we know directly, we'll get with a race series they run in and ask the, you know, guys running the series, how is this person on a personal level before we sort of get involved.
I forgot to ask you at the beginning, and I meant to, but how many Dexter proposals do you see on a weekly, monthly, or annual basis? Like, how often are people approaching you for sponsorship? And then what's your vetting process to filter through those?
I mean, it'll vary, but I would say on average, maybe 5 or 10 like a day kind of come in, but it's
Wow.
varying like a DM that just says sponsor me with an emoji versus a full, you know, flushed out deck. Um, but yeah, I would say probably 5 or 10 a day, so quite a bit.
What's the best way to get your attention? Which ones do you actually consider? Like drivers on the call, what's the best way to approach you? Robert
Um,
said, don't DM him, is what Robert just said.
Yeah, I mean the DM is definitely a difficult one because there's so many people, you know, we have 250,000 followers on Instagram, so you can
Wow.
imagine the DMs and tags are coming in all the time. So you may have a great one, but if you DM it, it's probably it could get lost, even though we try our best to check it all. So yeah, I would say send an email, and the biggest thing a lot of guys tend to forget is they'll say, "Hey, I want a sponsorship." but they don't let us know proactively what actually they're looking for as far as support. You know, do they need a $10,000 check to run the series or do this upgrade? Do they want to start out with discounted parts and try to grow the relationship? You know, what do they need? And then sort of what do they have that they can provide in return? Do they have a great marketing team or a photographer, or do they have a great social media outreach? You know, so knowing that stuff is definitely good. Not so much the analytics from Formula Drift's deck, because we know that, you know, we know how many people watch FD, but how many people, you know, watch you, and what content have you produced and what results has that got?
That's a good point. When we were talking, you actually said you don't need to see Formula Drift's demographics because you're in the market, you know it. So that's something that really is not necessary in a deck. What are some better things to put in a deck?
Yeah, I mean, I always like to see, I mean, the content that they've generated in the past and sort of how it's been received. So as a team or a driver, sort of keeping tabs on the things that you're posting and how they're performing. So you can say, hey, you know, we generated these videos, we generated these photos, this is the response we got. And these are the past people we've worked with and the initiatives we've done, and this is how it's gone, is great. And if you're starting out, you may not have it, but try your best to sort of document that. So at least we know uh, you have that thought. It's not just you're going to the track on Sunday to race. Like you've got other objectives that you've got to meet to kind of fund that and keep it going.
Sounds like you want it to be more than just a you send them cash or product or a discount and they put some stickers on and go to the track and maybe pass out a sticker or two. It sounds like you're looking more for a relationship that's longer term that leads to opening up business. Do you offer coupons or have an affiliate program, or do you have QR codes that can track and measure the success of those sales that your drivers are generating?
We did have an affiliate program, but I believe we had to sort of dial it back because we upgraded to a different website software. But for some of the bigger name sponsored drivers, we would have like a specific discount code. So if they're at the track, they'll have like a flyer with that on it, or if they have somebody asking, and we'll track that and see like, oh, you know, driver X 50 people used that coupon this month and driver Y 200 did. And that'll definitely weigh into, you know, what budget may be allocated to that in the following year.
That's and I think that's a common thing that we hear a lot now. So um as we have, I think, about a minute left, I'm being told, in this session. I appreciate it. This has been a really good one. What are some last words of advice that you have for drivers on the call looking for sponsorship?
I mean, I would say just, you know, you've got to remember that it's not simply like a charity donation. Like personally at ENJUKU, we like to support the grassroots guys, and we want to see them come up in the sport and in the series that they're in. Um, but it's a two-way street, you know, so creating that content, um, delivering it, you know, not just once a year, and when you're asking for the next round of sponsorships is huge. So yeah, just really looking at it as a two-way street and saying, hey, I'm going to get this discount or I'm going to get this part, but in return, you know, here's a handful of pictures or videos from the event, and, you know, just keeping up instead of just that once a year ask of, hey, I need some money or I need some parts. This is huge.
Yeah, that is true. I appreciate that. Andrew, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. You're on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, out in
Yeah.
Orlando.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you for staying up late. I appreciate it.
yeah, no worries, no worries at all.
All right. Take care. We'll see you at the races.
All right, thanks.